So apologies for those of you who were who lost the stream for a while. We've had some connection issues today that are kind of out of our control, unfortunately, at the break zone. But we should be back to streaming live for you right now. We just had a party attack by Mira and Gao that Brian blocked, and then played a Titan to keep Vincent alive while doing enough damage to break Gao. Now he's going to attack with Vincent, and then after declaring the attack, he is using Death Penalty to take out Cognazzo, Realm, and Mira. Or I think it was Cognazzo, Mira, and someone else. I think it might have been Realm. Then Nia blocked with the Viking. Okay, Nia blocked with the Viking, which allows him to draw a card. We're up to 4 points of damage now on Nia. So things have kind of swung out of Nia's favor at this point. He still can't activate any of his abilities because of the Emperor, and he's got no forwards at the moment, looking at enough damage coming at him next turn to win game 1 here, if that's how things swing. He's looking at what he can do there. All right, Nia's looking at what he can do here. He does have that gladiator out. He can use that to retrieve a forward from the break zone if he wants to. I mentioned that there's that single Dark Knight. He just has a single Dark Knight in here, the Opus 4 one that gives a forward plus 1,000 power for each point of damage you've taken. He has no way to play it. He doesn't actually have a Cosmos or a Chaos or anything or any other Earth card in here. So it seems like it's in there solely for the purpose of trying to of discarding it early for CP and then retrieving it later as kind of a way to get over the top, I think.
Oh, sorry.
That death penalty was just kind of brutal against Nia there. That really makes a big difference in where things stand. Gets around Cognazzo's normal durability to be able to block things. Mira obviously was good for his deck plan here. Okay, he's paying 5 for maybe a Gao. Nope, he's playing Lena this time. Alright, retrieves Realm with that to look at the top 5 cards. See if there's any monsters. There is an Adamantoise there. Still not too helpful without a way to use any of these, but we'll see what happens.
Every Friday and Saturday. Friday and Saturday at 8:30. It's almost always constructed, but we do some.
Right, plays the Adamantoise. 3 monsters is an important threshold to hit for Gao, for Gao's special, but he plays another Cognazzo. But aside from that, these monsters are not helping out right now.
I'm not the guy you want to make that joke to.
Yeah, the one that
I'm the guy that's trying to actually make things like that happen.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I apologized. I apologized when I said that he had no way to play that Dark Knight. He actually did have this Kefka. I missed that when glancing over the list. So he discarded those monsters, as I was just talking about how they weren't particularly useful. The monsters, in order to play this Kefka to break that Emperor, he's finally back in a position to do what he's doing, and he's really swept up. Really kind of swept up the field as on Brian's side. That Cognazzo lowered Yuffie's power by enough to break her, is my understanding of what happened there. So he waited for that to happen there. And then followed it up with the Kefka, which when it enters the field breaks something, and then chose to break Emperor with that, which is not only just a smart plan, but it's actually pretty much his only choice, because otherwise Kefka's ability would fizzle on Vincent due to Vincent's ability to not be broken by things that don't do damage.
Oh, by the way, next week, Red Dragon Inn, ton of fun. Okay.
So he's, Neo's managed to swing this around in his favor at this point. He went from looking at potentially enough forwards to end game one coming at him to having 3 forwards, the ability to activate that green dragon again. So very well played on Neo's part.
Steal more treasure than the other players as fast as you can while making his little noise, making plank. Because the more you do that, the more the dragon will receive damage.
All right, Brian passes over. He's got the Vincent. Vincent's still 9k. He leaves the that monk available still, so that he can buff Vincent to help with defending at this point. Let's see. Let's see what Neo's got going on here.
Yeah, they're exactly.
He doesn't run any. Looks like he doesn't run any summons, which is interesting because despite the fact that he's running a monster deck, there are no Cleons in here. He's not using that as part of his strategy, but he's also still not using any. Summons. So the sort of things you would expect from water, the Famfrits, the Leviathans, he doesn't have that option, which means that he's not going to be able to get around Vincent quite so easily. I mean, a single Leviathan right now would potentially end the game, but it looks like Nea's trying to figure out how he's going to handle that situation.
It's a 3-day rental. The first time you can have a friend drop. The first time you rent something is 25%, whatever the retail cost in the game.
Okay, let's see here.
Once you brought something back, or you're a known entity, to say,
this is the combat trick. Okay, so what he's doing at this point, just to explain, I'll show you the Gladiator. But he's using the Gladiator as a combat trick with the Dark Knight, which is really interesting. Looks like Brian's going to respond with Shantoto on his turn. So that'll give us some time to talk about things. But let's take a look at the Gladiator and how that works. And just so I can kind of explain what that interaction was we just saw, in case anybody missed it.
Literally a stack of cards called the drink deck. Everybody has to take a drink.
Alright, so it's Gladiator, one of the new cards in Opus 4 from Final Fantasy XIV. You put the Gladiator in the break zone, and it allows you to take a standard unit that costs 3 or less and put it into play. It does say you can only use it during your turn, but what he did was he attacked with the Cognazzo, kind of got the block in there, and then before the damage was calculated, still during the after the block was declared, he pulls that Dark Knight from the break zone. The Dark Knight itself has an ability that makes a forward of your choice plus 1,000 power for each point of damage you've taken, which gave a plus 4,000 at that point to Cognazzo, making him a 10,000, because he was a 5 plus 1 for Waka and then got an additional 4. So the net effect was really, really potent, which is that the Nia ended up with an extra forward on the field, which is the Dark Knight, and on top of that he gets a combat trick. So it's actually very very effective and very economical, that combination. Now on his turn he's played a Marlboro, he played a Lena to get Realm back again. We're doing the same trick here of looking for monsters in the top 5 cards. Looks like we don't have any. He's played a lot of monsters, though. We've seen a lot of them from Nia already, so at this point, it's not too surprising. Once again, he's looking at a very large forward of Brian's, along with the possibility of the Monk. Now, you might be asking yourself, when Vincent blocked, why not use the Monk to buff his own Vincent to survive that? And I think the Shantoto basically answers that, which is that he knew, with the way that the state of the game had changed up to that point, that it's going to be in his best interest to go ahead and just Shantoto, so no need to spend the resources and the backup to actually buff him at that point. So, got a Shadow Lord played here, which is first time I've seen that on a stream or in a match, really, other than, I think, pre-release. Shadow Lord, of course, breaking all cost 2 forwards when it comes into play, which includes your own, by the way. It's not your opponent's only, it's all cost 2 forwards. So that breaks Realm, puts another big body on the field that's also Brave. And we've got kind of Nia stuck here again. He could try attacking with the Marlboro, which would not trade with the Shadow Lord. It would actually win in that case. So again, the Marlboro's ability, for anybody that doesn't remember, is to when it blocks or is blocked, it lowers all of your opponent's forwards' power by 2,000. And the wording on that's important because Delita, of course, this is the legendary Delita from Opus 3. If he's chosen by something, then he either deals a point of damage to if it's a summon, or if it's an ability of a card, then he breaks that card. But the Marlboro's not choosing anything. It's just doing a blanket effect to everybody. It doesn't choose, so it still affects Delita. And at this point, I don't think. I'm not entirely certain if Brian has a Crow out. Oh, he does, because I think earlier we had Vincent at 10k. So I take back what I said. At this point, the Marlboro would not be able to trade with Delita, because even after the 2,000, it would still outrank it by 1,000 power. It could trade with the Shadow Lord. No, actually, I wouldn't trade with the Shadow Lord. Now to do the math on that, because it's not getting a buff from Anacrow because it's not a Earth card. So I think Nia's in a little bit of a stalemate here. He can't really get through at that point. Got both of them at 4 damage. It's a pretty tight game at this point. They both got pretty full backup lines. Brian's got the advantage with 5 backups, but he does have 2 large forwards, one of which is Brave. All right, Nia's gonna play the Knight there. Something else we're used to seeing in standard mono water decks. And then we get a 5th backup from him again, so we have a Scholar now. That's going to make the Knight be a 9k. Still not enough to actually block Delita successfully. So we'll see. You know, the danger here that I think Nia is trying to put out there is that with enough forwards, it makes it so that Brian can't attack without kind of making himself susceptible to enough forwards coming back to get him to 7 damage. And the Shadow Lord, as I pointed out, would lose against the Marlboro, so it doesn't really have the option of attacking with that Brave character. Nia asked to see Brian's Black Mage, another new card from this set. So, since he wasn't that familiar with it, chances are not all of you are familiar with it. So let's take a look at that new Black Mage from Opus 4 for Earth. So it basically makes your forward into Guy. It gives it the same ability. It can't become dull by your opponent's summons or abilities for this turn. It can be responded to with something that would make you dull. So, for example, if you attacked with a Kuja, they responded with that, and then you could play a Shiva to still dull them. So it's a little bit more slippery, or maybe not slippery is not the right word. It's a little bit easier to get around, but it's reusable. It's not one of these backups that breaks itself when it uses it. So that's actually very, very strong against decks that are based around dulling. All right, Brian's working on building up enough forward to be able to attack and block at the same time effectively. We've hit, yeah, we're at 5 points of damage for Nia, my mistake. We have another Cognato. Oh, he's going to double Cognato here, it looks like. Looks like that's what he's going to do. Yep, so for those of you not familiar, the double Cognato is basically, you play Cognato, you get the ability when he enters the field, which is to lower opponents' forwards that turn by 1,000 power for each water character you control, which includes monsters. And then you send it back to your hand and then play it again to get that same effect twice. And then now he just gets to come in. It's like having a supercharged Gipple at this point. He did manage to kill everything that wasn't Delita. It doesn't target, so you don't get anything from that. He's gonna block with Delita on one of those attacks and then use Titan to keep himself alive. But it looks like he's hit 7 damage now, so that's the end of game 1 there. So Nia comes back. That Emperor was really, really troublesome for him, but he managed to, I mentioned that water doesn't have a lot of great removal there, but he managed to find a way to get through that Emperor. Otherwise he would have been very hard pressed for the rest of the match.
My game's done. I say that a lot.
Alright, game 1 goes to Nia. But that did eat up a lot of our time on the clock. You see that we, out of 110, sorry, not 110, out of 70 minutes, hour and 10 minutes, we are down to only a little less than 40 left before we even start this game here. So, if Nia takes down game 2, it's not going to be particularly troublesome. But if it goes to a game 3, we're looking at the possibility of hitting time very, very early in the match. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Looking for another snack? Did you want another fruit by the foot or something else? If you like fruit by the foot, the extra flavors of schools down here are pretty good. The damage he receives. We also have.
Okay, starting up game 2 here.
Gummy worms where you can get bears.
We've got Brian going second. I say it every time, but one of the big differences in the top 8 matches or best of 3 is that at this point both players have seen each other's decks. They know what the decks are trying to accomplish, and they've seen how the opponent can counter what they're trying to do, and have an idea of what they can do to counter the opponent. All right, we're getting the early Gladiator play again from Nia. And then Brian's going to play a Monk back up. So once again, Nia gets that Gladiator early, which we saw how much that affected things in the last time around. So we'll see if it's a really important, relevant card this time.
It's only 50 cents. Do you want two?
Got some hearty laughter going from Brian there at the table right now, so they're having fun. They're having fun in their match. Nia plays Tom Betty. Again, that can search for either Mira or the Tomberries, so chances are he's searching for Mira unless he has it in his hand. So I think Mira is very much... There we go. Yep. We saw how last game that Mira helped him to early on get to all the Tomberries that he wanted to take down early forwards that Brian played, even if they were big. So he got through Guy with that. He got through a buffed Vincent. All right, holds on to it. He's got 5 cards in his hand. Okay, Brian's gonna play Anna Crow. Again, building up the strength. He might be thinking about those Tonberries and how that extra 1,000 can possibly make a difference in whether your opponent either has to pay more with their Tonberries or if it'll be out of range of them being able to take it out with the Tonberries. Again, the combination of Mira and Tonberries is very strong because it allows you to chain the Tonberries together to where you can get up to a very large amount. I'm not sure if I can think of the exact total you can get to, but if you played one on the turn and then used its ability and then used Mirror to get another one and did that, then we're looking at, I believe, 12,000 reduction. So that will take care of most forwards at that point. It's a bit expensive, but it might be worth it. And there's that Mirror. He's going to use one to play perhaps a monster. Yes, he's playing the Green Dragon. As a reminder, Mira has the ability that when she's in play, monsters cost 1 less to play. Can't be reduced to 0, but it does cost 1 less. So we only have to pay the 1 there for the Green Dragon in this case. And then Brian gets an early Vincent Yuffie. Doesn't even need to search for either one of them. You see he discarded a Yuffie actually, so he's gotten 2 Yuffies early. So that once again brings us to a 10k Vincent. He's going to use a Hecaton Care. This is the new Hecaton Care. We can take a look at that. It's the one that basically makes both forwards do damage to each other. It's whereas Roban is one very one-sided affair, one forward dealing damage to the other. There's a little bit of kind of what's built into the cost of Hecaton Care being cheaper is that both forwards deal damage to each other. There's Hecaton Care. So that gets rid of the Mira, which again, you see how Brian has realized the importance of Mira to Nia's deck. So removing that early is a good play. He didn't waste any time either. As soon as he got Vincent Yuffie into play, he just went ahead and paid for it and did it. Alright, we'll see what Nia's backup plan is here. Looks like Nia only runs 2 Miras in his deck, which is probably due to the fact that he can search for it normally. Okay, so there's Tonberries targeting Vincent. He's going to break the Tonberries with paying 1. We've now got a reduction of 6k. He's going to play Gao to retrieve the Tonberries, doing another 2k. And then he's going to remove it, so that gets you to 10 there. So that was, for those of you keeping score at home, that was 2, 4, 2, and 2. So those Tonberries are killer. And if you've played Final Fantasy, you know the Tonberries are killers. Usually they're not that fast. Not very often we see Tonberries running full speed at you, but in the course of Nia's deck here, those Tonberries are, I don't know, someone gave them way too much sugar. Alright, there's Realm. We talked about her before, looking for the top 5 cards. We do have a monster this time, which is the Adamantoise. So he's going to put the rest of them on the bottom of the deck in the order of his choosing. We have 1 point of damage right now on Brian. So, with having discarded a Yuffie earlier, Brian is probably reluctant to do any blocking with Yuffie to stop damage because he's looking to reestablish his combo. He does get Delita out right now, but if he can get Vincent out again, then he wants that Yuffie to still be there to buff her, or to buff him rather. And let's see, he only runs 2 Yuffies, so yeah, that's his last Yuffie with no way to retrieve it that I'm aware of. So yeah, probably not going to be doing too much there unless he gets really really desperate. Looks like he runs 3 with the legendary Vincent and then 1 promo. So yeah, he wants that combo. Alright, looks like he's going to play a Scholar and leave it at that. Okay, he's got another Hecatonk here in his hand. Not sure if he would want to use that. Nope, he's going to use Tomos instead. So the Tomos is like Roban. It does just one-sided damage based off of your highest power forward. He attacks with Delita. We hit a Gao on damage. Okay, come back to Nia's turn here. He's only stuck, or he's stuck with smaller forwards at this point. He doesn't have a walker or anything in place, so Realm is still 5k. The Green Dragon would be 7k. There's Waka. He must have read my mind. So it gets Realm up to 6, and the Green Dragon would be 8 if it was a forward. Plays a second Green Dragon. As I mentioned, Nia only runs 2 Miras. With a way to search for her, it's pretty okay there. But as soon as one of them is removed, now he's looking to try to draw a second one if he wants the benefits of Mira. To draw a second one from the remainder of his deck. He did search for her this time. It's like Delita's going to get another point of damage in. It's an Astrologian, so no X-Burst. But anyway, he has also exhausted his ability to search for Mira because he's already played the Ton Betty.
Yeah, so it's $24. Costs $24, but as an incentive, plus it's more convenient for you. So it's an option. Still good.
A lot of looking through the breakdown of both players, seeing what's there. Again, we want to be aware of time here. They're still fairly early in the match, only 1 damage to 2 damage. Only 28 minutes left in the best of 3 match. Looks like he's going to activate that Green Dragon and attack. That is 8k. He's going to take that. It'll get a Titan flipped over. This Delita can get through, but the problem is that Brian's leaving himself open to having nothing to block with. So the other Green Dragon is going to attack. Get another Titan for damage.
All the candies, 2 except for those little bags across the top.
You know, Nia's deck is built around, you know, having really good late game plays. We saw the double Cognato with the Scholar and how that works. And also, we saw how the Gladiator retrieving the Dark Knight can help you to get what you need to get through that last big forward blocking you or anything like that. He's still going to attack with Delita, and Nia emphatically puts Realm in front of Delita. Looks like he's got a response. No, he's going to second main. So, plays Guy. Realm gets smashed by poor Delita. And his Chocobo.
She's usually not here on the Friday. So we have 2 stores.
Alright, we have another Tonberries. I think you can see where this is going, possibly. If he has a Gao in his hand, then we're looking at this combo again. Let's see. Ooh, this is getting a little confusing with how he's moving these things around. So he's paying it for it with those 2. Playing Lena to retrieve Mira, I would guess. That's another way to get Mira back. No, he gets Realm. Interesting. He's going to use Realm to search the top 5 cards. Now there is a Mira there, so unfortunately that Mira is going to go away. He does get another Tonberries. The challenge here is that Tonberries is a unique monster, I believe. You can only have one of them in play at a time, so he would have to use the other one first. But it looks like he goes for the Marlboro. I think he's thinking more long-term in terms of the viability of that Marlboro to both block and try to get through for damage. Attacks with the Green Dragon, which is 8k. Looks like he's going to block with Guy and maybe... I don't think he... Well, let's see. I think he's got that Monk. Yep, he could use that Monk if he wanted to, but he's going to Tama in a Gipple. That's going to be good. So, breaks Tama to play Gipple. Gipple comes in, everything gets plus 4,000, including Gipple himself, so now he's going to block 12,000. It looks like Nia's considering the Gladiator play that we talked about, the Dark Knight. I'm not sure if he played or discarded a Dark Knight earlier. We haven't seen those Earth cards. I think he's trying to figure out whether or not he discarded a Dark Knight earlier. He might not have that option right now. It might still be in the deck.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So we're looking at the Green Dragon running straight into an actually 13k Gipple, because he's 9k with the Anacro and an additional 4 from his own. So this is a defensive Gipple.
Oh, yeah. You know about the special promotion this weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I assume it doesn't count sales stuff, or does it?
No, but we would just, if
Yeah.
it was better for you, we'd give you, we'd charge us full price.
There's that Dark Knight we were talking about.
Do you want to get $10 off this too?
Okay, so he did have it in there. Looks like he's decided after all to do that play. Make the Green Dragon plus 2,000. I'm not sure that's not enough. Oh, well, with the I think he paid for the Tonberries to reduce by 4k as well. So that would lower the minus 4k would put Gipple down at 9. The plus 2,000 of the Green Dragon would put it at 10,000. So by my count, oh, maybe not. Perhaps I missed something. Maybe it was only 2k with the Tonberries. Either way, we end up with a situation where the Green Dragon lost.
What's going on over there?
Possibly.
Although that's
All right, by my estimation, I think Nia's a bit stuck at this moment. He doesn't have big forwards. I think his deck is very much based around kind of getting around a smaller amount of forwards. Again, not much in the way of removal, other than the Tonberry tricks, which are good. But I think Earth might be a good natural counter to that strategy, due to the fact that their forwards are so big. You have to spend a lot of resources in order to actually reduce them to 0 or do those tricks.
Seat on the town council of Grand Library. You have to build the most.
I mean, if he can get another Kefka, which he would have to get rid of 3 forwards or monsters to do it, which is not a good play right now for him.
Queen dominance.
It's part of the reason those Vikings are in here that he was using before, is that Viking is a good one. You can get rid of it for Kefka to pay for the cost and then get a card draw out of that.
Was it Potion Explosion?
Oh yeah, Potion Explosion.
That one's gonna be in January too.
Yeah, so I think Nia's in a situation where
Has a good iPad version.
he doesn't have good options to get through Brian's forwards. They're very large. You have to lead at 10k.
Because it's a very sort of relaxing.
They're both at, or sorry, Nia's at 4 damage now.
I've blocked way too many
It's quick and easy.
It's just you.
Anyone?
Yeah, I do the same thing with like Splinter on my iPad. It's like I can sit there and I can like in the course of like watching the show, I can like play like 4 or 5 games.
It's remarkable how fast some boards are when you don't have to physically pick up any.
Alright, he's trying to figure out if he has a way to get around this.
Or draw, or shuffle
Actually, in a
attack.
Potion Explosion, I'm sure it's a lot move all the marbles. But it's such a pretty game.
Oh my god. All three.
It's such a pretty game. But I don't have tested to buy it in physical form.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's got any particular idea here on how he's going to get around this.
It's inspired essentially by match.
I was gonna add a Gipple in there.
Yeah,
Although
it's,
it's not really a match game.
it's not, but it's designed to look
Well, like, yeah, it's sitting here, it's like,
Yeah, I just said that out loud.
Right, looks like he's using Lena. He's going to use Lena's special to retrieve something, which will be a Gao. That's a pretty good combination of things there. So he's retrieving the Gao, which will then retrieve the Tonberry. So that's some synergy right there. Again, Gao is very much a newer version of Lena, specialized in monsters, and but now he's strung those together with Lena's Arise special.
Honestly, I don't mind that I'm missing it. It does not actually seem like the game quite. Isn't that Munchkin? Isn't that Munchkin-esque? No? Okay. Maybe I'm wrong.
in the sense of humor it is, but in the gameplay, not.
Okay.
The gameplay is very tactical. The art and the humor is very good.
Got a lot of forwards out here. Looks like he attacked with the Dark Knight. Gonna block with Gipple. I think he's trying to figure out whether he wants to pay to use the Tonberries to remove or to get through Gipple. It's not a high value target, is the thing.
that's why I thought, I was like, if you break down with your small.
It wasn't that it was.
You know, expending that to get rid of Gipple, which is kind of throwaway forward after his ability is not great, but he's going to do it anyway. Does remove one of the larger forwards unless... nope, Brian's going to go ahead and respond with giving it plus 3,000. Decided it was worth it in order to keep Gipple and get rid of the Dark Knight.
Oh, so they may already.
So there is a small chance they already have. I don't think they do, but Spirit
I
Islands
wouldn't be surprised if somebody else got it.
Spirit Islands is bad.
You kept reading it, I was like, I don't have the heart to comprehend. And then we got paired.
Right, down to 18 minutes left now. This is only game 2, mind you. Game 2 of a best of 3. Where Nia won the first match. Brian's kind of in control of what's going on here in the second match.
Because you're basically in the island fighting back against the dating center.
Oh!
Then you
Yeah!
Spirit
No,
Island.
I do know about that game. I watched
that sounds like fun.
review of it, and I didn't realize from the box that it was the same game.
Yeah, that's the one where you're the island.
So if you want to play that, it's so fun. I was looking for, so after I saw their review, I went
Like you had an exploding.
So it's in. Brian is. I'm not sure if he's aware of the time at this point, but it's in his best interest to make sure that that he wins this game ASAP. To try to at least get to game 3 before we run out of time, because we're gonna run out of time. It's gonna be. I'd be very surprised if we can get through the rest of this game and through an entire other game in the next 17 minutes, especially with the pace of the game thus far between these two players.
I think she got it from her dog. Are you funny? We should get going. The little girl
Nia looking over and over again at his one card in his hand. Maybe something will change. Nope, still the same card.
I've had dogs forever, so
Let me know if you need help.
alright, let's go.
See you in a few weeks.
Alright, takes point of damage, which is the green dragon there. Brian attacks with Guy, who is 9k. Again, Nia doesn't have strong forwards here. So he's choosing to block with Realm, and then before damage is calculated, he's using Realm's ability to activate to turn the green dragon into a forward. But that's going to be the end of the attacks there. Now we get that other Vincent that Brian's waiting for ever since he lost Vincent number 1.
It's a free mulligan.
All right, looks like Brian's going to take down that one. I think Nia recognized it. They're going to get shuffled up really quick here before the third match. Just saw our judge from that table there looking up at the time, so I think they're aware
John invited some people. Danny
of the time limitations.
George and Nicole's maybe. Nathan's coming and bringing in a guest. Yeah, I know. Are they?
So we're going to see where things go in less than 15 minutes worth of a game here. Both players at 1 win apiece going into game 3. Took us about 55 minutes to get through 2 games, so we have about 15 to go through the last one. Now the rules, before we get into this last one, the rules on time when it's called, it still follows the same structure as you should be used to from Swiss, which is that you when time is called, it's turn 0. You still go through the 3 turns, so turn 0, 1, 2, and 3, and then following that, instead of being a double loss like it would be in Swiss, if the since they're ties, since each player has won 1 game, then if they are not tied on damage, then whoever's taken more damage loses. If, however, time is called in the situation and they are both, at the end of turn 3, they both have the same amount of damage, then what happens is it goes to sudden death. The next person to deal any point of damage wins, regardless of what the total score was. I mean, they'll be tied at that point, so it'll be the first point of damage, basically. So if they're both at like 3 damage, then whoever deals that 4th point of damage first wins. The whole match, that is. The game and the match. Alright, so
Hey guys, had a good time?
got a Black Mage early and a Waka, so he's overpaying for that Waka there. Playing into a Delita, looks like they've got a pretty... they understand the necessity of a fast pace here.
We have communication. We need to try this. Yesterday, somebody was looking at buying that and he goes, oh yeah, that's a great game. And I said, what can you tell me about it? He said, It's kind of like Hanabi. They went, whoa.
You're like, how did you not tell me this beforehand? Hello?
Alright, so that Delita early is going to probably be a little bit problematic. Alright, we got at least one monster from this realm play. Yep, so he's going to take that Marlboro. With the plus 1,000 from Wonka, that means that Marlboro can trade with Delita, so that's the sort of answer he needs right now. We'll see how the pace of this here, with only about 12 minutes left to play, how that affects their choices, if they are strong enough to make smart choices, or if they feel a little bit rushed. Ooh, that's going to put it out of reach of the Marlboro. So, Anacro, that puts Delita at 10k. However, the issue here is he would not want to attack, because then he's looking at 2 damage coming back the other direction is the problem.
I get to this it's right at the top of our website, so. Yeah, most of their
Okay. Plays the Gladiator. Again, we've seen how that becomes relevant later in the match. Gonna play an Adamantoise. I don't think we've seen Adamantoise actually get used for its intended use today yet, but it does reduce the damage dealt to something by 3,000. So it's a way to survive, but not a way to kill something. Here comes Vincent and Yuffie. So, again, we've got large forwards with the sort of thing that Earth's known for. Large forwards out there that will be coming at Nia next turn, more than likely. So yeah, the difference between Adamantoise and, say, the Tonberry is that Adamantoise only reduces damage, it doesn't reduce the power of the enemy, which means that it doesn't make it any easier to kill them. Looks like he's perhaps activating the Marlboro. Yep, attacking with the Marlboro. Trying to see if he can get that block. If I had to guess, I'd say he's probably got a Tonberries in his hand, and he's waiting to see if he can bait a block in there, so that when he plays the Tonberries, he can finish him off. But nope, we're gonna hit a Prish for damage. Yeah, chances are he was looking to play a Tonberries and be able to take out one of those larger forwards. But Brian did not take the bait. He's gonna have 2 strong forwards that he can attack with next turn. Okay, it goes back to Brian. He's gonna attack with Delita, who's 10k. Just has to take that green dragon on damage. Attacks with the also 10k Vincent. Hits a Lena, I believe, on damage. Yeah, this is not the sort of thing that's going to be sustainable for Nia, especially with Guy out there now. He's going to have 3 very large forwards coming at him per turn, and he needs to have some sort of solution to deal with that. He could potentially buy himself a turn if he blocks with the Marlboro and uses the Adamantoise to keep it alive, because between the lowered power and the lowered damage received, that make it survive. And something else that's interesting with the Marlboro is whether you have the same one that blocks more than once in a turn, or is blocked more than once in a turn, or if you have several, every instance of being blocked or blocking will do an additional 2,000 reduction to all the opponent's forwards. So if you block with that Marlboro twice in a turn, you've reduced your opponent's forwards by 4,000. So it's another kind of reverse Gipple situation.
It's our secret gamer overlord. If you bring a game for gamer overlord and we need it, and other players use it, you get a free drink and a free snack.
Nia looking at his break zone, not a whole lot in there. We're still pretty early in the game. So chances are he's either looking at a Gao or a Lena.
I have a very somebody who was volunteer tournament organizing today and did a great job. So I will get
Can you just let me do where I am, and then I'll go home and do it? Okay.
Checking out opponent's break zone. We're down to about 7 minutes left here in the match. The next turn's probably not going to be particularly good for Nia. Looking at a 9K Brave Guy, a 10K Brave Vincent, and a 10K Delita attacking him.
Yeah, no, I knew he had it. Like, I've been dealing with this all day. Like, my God.
As I mentioned, he's got some good tricks for removal, Nia does, but I don't think he has the resources. There's an Astrologian. I don't think he has the resources to deal with all three of those very large forwards. And if he does use those, it's gonna be spending a lot more probably than they cost Brian to play. Brian's gonna take that point of damage. Hits Iridia.
At least Chris didn't end like when it didn't matter so much. Until they got tricked.
Like mean people
So Brian took that second point of damage, probably because he's not particularly worried about his ability to attack back the next turn. Again, trying to not fall into any of these tricks of blocking the Marlboro. And it's like Nia passes over. Draws a Shantoto and another Guy, it looks like. So he's got a replacement for Guy already, which is not good for Nia if he manages to take out Guy.
Otherwise, it'll be 56.
Right, up to 3 points of damage now. That's a 4th point of damage after the Brave attack, and then another Brave attack. Yeah, I don't think Nia has any options here.
This matchup in general is not
I think Brian's realized the durability of his forwards against Nia's tricks.
I forgot your gift card. Do you have one of these? No. The way this works is every time you spend $10, you can stamp 5 today.
I think Nia looking at what he can do, but I don't see any options there other than taking the damage. I mean, he could block with Realm. I don't want to say there's nothing he could do, but for the moment, he's up to 4 points of damage. The way things are headed, it looks like if things even go to turns here, Brian could still potentially get to that 7 points of damage before turns would be over.
That's a good match.
Legendary standard service.
Yeah, Ace and what's it called?
They have the pink
The more package.
Oh yeah. Right.
Oh yeah. Does the way they match things? It's only 9K. Oh, yeah.
Not sure quite what he's considering at this point. Not sure what the holdup is. I mean, potentially, what he could do. I mean, he could turn the Adamantoise into a forward with Realm's ability and block with it. It would die, but nope. He's gonna. So he's gonna. Okay, so he's gonna do that after blocking with Realm, so that Realm dies, but the Adamantoise is now a forward. But now it's back to being a monster. It's a new turn. Yeah, I think barring a miracle here, it looks like Nia's in trouble. He currently has no forwards. Again, the Adamantoise and Marlboro trick could potentially buy him a turn. Let's see, if he's got a 10k coming in and he blocks with the Marlboro, that would put the 10k down to 8k. Marlboro's current would be at 7k himself, and then you would lower it with the Adamantoise, so he would only take 5k of damage. You could block a second for it at that point, but still would only get rid of one forward, and you'd end up losing both of your monsters in the process.
They're close right now, but we can put it on the reserve for it.
Yeah, unless Nia has any specific tricks here, it seems like Brian's gonna probably pull out the win on this one and move on to the semifinals.
Well, I think I'm up here because I have strong tiebreakers. Because I lost to Chris.
Yep.
Yeah, those are loose because they're mage.
Alright, Nia is going to play Cognazzo, which is at this point, so he's got a Tonberries and a Cognazzo. That's enough to get rid of Yuffie, so at least that takes care of the Brave problem, but doesn't take care of some other issues. So Cognazzo gets the plus 1,000 from Waka. Here comes Gipple. Yep, this is going to be pretty devastating for Nia at this point. Attacks with a now 13k guy. He's going to use the ability to lower guy back down to 9k now. Block with the Marlboro, lowers it to 7k. The Marlboro itself will be, I believe, 6k, and then, okay, looks like with death penalty. Okay, death penalty is on both there. Attacks with Dolita. We are now at 6 points of damage. Gipple just came in to turn this, or came in to play this turn, so he can't attack. Nia is left with 4 forwards to come get him on the next turn. And we did just hit time. This is technically turn 0, but I don't think Nia has any outs at this point.
Just get a couple there. No, we have to. We can't just leave a couple.
Looking at what he can do, but I don't see Nia having an out. Like I said, I don't think his deck runs. No, I'm not seeing any Cloud of Darkness or any other way of dealing with the entire field there. I mean, he could use the Gladiator, pull something from his break zone, put it into play. I don't think he can handle 4 attacks on the next turn. And I think more important than that is he currently has no forwards or even monsters that can turn into forwards. So I don't see a way for Nia to even get to a tied amount of damage, to do 4 damage between this turn and one more turn. Would require him to get 4 forwards in play this turn. Avoid any attacks on Brian's next turn, and still have 4 forwards to attack with on Nia's next turn, and be able to get through with all 4 of them. And I don't think that's particularly likely. It's a tall order. But Nia's a fierce competitor. He's definitely of the never say die variety.
Yeah, I'm just gonna right now. Some of the games I do want to sleep, and I think they're close.
Let's see. Discards Kefka and something else. Plays Gao. Is gonna retrieve. Tonberries on Gipple. Going to use the Gladiator ability to get another forward in play, so he's desperately trying to get bodies on the field. at this point. Plays that Dark Knight. He's able to boost something by 6k with all that points of damage. Unfortunately, he has no forwards that were in play before this turn, so he can't actually do anything with that 6k, and it'll have faded by the time it's his next turn. Yeah. Now he does have the option of discarding the one card in his hand to do the Tonberries, to reduce something by 4k. So, you know, he can try to stave off full destruction here next turn. Right, passes over to Brian. This should be turn number 1. He's got another Gipple in his hand. Unfortunately, he can't do anything with that with the Gipple currently in play. Right now, Nia's forwards are not particularly strong. He's going to attack with, well, he's considering attacking with the Gipple. Nope, he's going to party attack with Gipple and Vincent, force him to block. Doesn't take out anything of Brian's. He's got one more forward to block with. This looks like, I mean, if he attacks with the... Yeah, party attack's a smart way to go there, because then if he even lowers one of them, he's still... Okay, so he's going to have to block. I mean, he's got no choice at this point. So he blocks with Gao. He's going to reduce by 3,000. And then I think he's going to go ahead and probably discard his one card in hand to do the Tonberries. Oh, he gets a card draw from the Adamantoise. So at this point, Delita is 10k. Yep, he's going to do the minus 4,000. So he's minus 4,000 on Delita. We get a Titan response. Gao blocks, Gao dies. We get another Gao. And probably another Tonberries, I'm assuming. No, Green Dragon. He wants something to block with. Again, he doesn't ever say die person here. So this should be turn 3. He's going to go ahead and attack with Gipple. He's going to activate the Green Dragon. They, yep. And that's the match there. All right, that was a long match there of our 3 games, going all the way to turn 3 of game 3. So pretty interesting, I think, match in terms of seeing in very monster heavy decks, how Nia's monster heavy deck works against kind of more established traditional decks like that Mono Earth, running Vincent, Guy, Yuffie, all those things. There was no monsters in Brian's deck there, so ultimately, again, the power of Earth being literally power was more than the tricks that Nia was able to conjure up there. Now that should have been, with that being time, we should be getting our semifinal match ready for you here very shortly. So this will be just a short little delay here between now and the semifinal match, and we'll be back to you with that for more coverage of our Northern California Meta Potion Circuit Championship. I'm Jared Scott. This is the Break Zone. Thanks for watching our coverage. We'll be back in just a very, very short while with the semifinal round for you. Thanks for watching. Welcome back. We're ready for our semi-final round here of the Northern California Meta Potion Circuit Championship. We are down to the top 4 players from today's event. Very amusingly, 3 out of the top 4 players in this event are named Brian. So there's a 75% chance that the champion's name is going to be Brian. So we'll see what happens there. But as a result, when you have 3 out of 4 people named Brian, that means that our next match is going to be a Brian versus Brian match. So I don't have to remember people's names. Everything's being done by Brian. So let's head over there to the beginning of their best of 3 match. All right, so we have the 2 Brians. We're going to get a turn 1 Astrologian, followed by a Moogle. This is the new Moogle from Theater Rhythm from Opus 4. It's the one that you can break and use its ability. I think it costs 1 CP and one water CP, and you get to draw a card. And then Brian comes in really hard and fast with a turn 1 Genesis End Sage. Comes in, attacks, gets the Kefka to come up on damage, and then forces a discard from Genesis. That's what he does when he does damage.
Does he get heat support tokens?
Okay, so that's pretty strong aggression there, which Fire Ice, we're not surprised by that. That's a combination that we were talking earlier in the stream today about how Ice has so many of these cards that if they do damage to you, they will make you discard. It's gonna mess up your card economy, and the combination of those cards plus the amount of haste available to Fire makes it really a good combination there. You have potentially in a deck that's using Fire cards, you can have 3 Sages, which will give haste, 3 Belias that will give haste, and now 3 of the Goblin from Opus 4 that will give haste. You can get up to 9 haste in the same deck. So it's very easy to get those early points of damage in, and then also be messing with your opponent via making them discard. Brian here is going to go the more kind of conservative build up his backup Root, plays Gastalian Empire Sid to get to Gao. So another monster-based deck. Obviously, you can see that we have the Kefka in the damage zone, and then Gao and his interactions with it.
Are you on now? Have fun. Until next time.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon.
Excellent.
Yep. Take care.
Take care.
Hi, Chris.
You too.
All right. Thank you.
Well done, man.
Thank you. Roger.
All right, to get that Gao. Okay, we get a Swamp Monk with that. It's a little bit harder to say than expected. So Swamp Monk to go with Gao, looks like. Oh, sorry, a Green Dragon. He was looking through his options, which included a Swamp Monk. And as I pointed out earlier, the difference with Gao is that the monster that he puts into play does not have to be of the water element, unlike Lena. So there's a look at Gao. Currently at 7,000. He's enough to be able to block Genesis. We're going to see a Cyan from Brian. So 2 points of damage now on Brian. And then we get Lock into play. We have a lot of 7Ks at this point. Genesis is 7K, Cyan 7K, Lock is 7K, Gao is currently 7K. And if we saw that that green dragon, if he was activated, it would also be 7K. So let's see if either player manages to pull out either any of their plus 1,000 boosting backups. It's possible they're not using them because in a deck with two elements, where one of them is not wind, it's not surprising to forego it, because unless most of your forwards are of the same element, you're going to be kind of splitting up the benefit there, and it's not great. So it looks like Genesis is going to trade with Lock, and then he's going to take that 3rd point of damage from Cyan, who's brave. So we got Brian G in a bit of a hole right now as far as damage, but he's got better longer-term prospects. Plays Realm. We saw Realm a lot in Nia's matches. Again, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Oh, it looks like Brian's choosing to possibly respond to that. So before it actually resolves, he might have a response. That's why they interrupted looking at top 5 cards. Technically, it's on the stack right now, Realm's ability. Looks like he's going to use Bahamut on Gao. So that's the reason for that, is because it gives him an opportunity to get rid of Gao before another monster or 2 come into play. And you can't respond to monsters coming into play. So that was kind of a smart move there to just get that done. So we have a Flan. He's going to put that into his hand. Kind of makes Realm a bit of a free character in the way that I look at things. If you manage to get a card from there, that means that you spent 2 CP to put her out, but you also got a card that is worth at least 2 CP, other than whatever you might use it for, if you play it. But if you consider each card as being valued as 2 CP in and of itself, then it's kind of like playing her for free. Alright, we're going to get... so Brian plays his Gestalian Empire Sid, retrieving Lock from his draw deck. Brian's going to use Flan's ability to make him have to discard. So that's actually a really good play. I like that. So being that it was the only card left in Brian's hand, what he win? Okay, so we're gonna hit Jill for damage. Gonna freeze Lena there. But yeah, I like that play there. There's only 1 card left in his hand, so he chooses to respond to the search, which is an ability, so you can respond to it. Or rather, lets the search go through, and then when the stack is empty, I guess adds on the or waits till he has priority, whatever, and then uses the Flan to make him discard the only card in his hand.
Oh yeah, me and Chris were looking at the same way. I was looking at you. I went through those expansions. It wasn't because I wasn't sure. Like,
all right, then we get Sabin out there, and again, Sabin and Cyan. We saw this earlier in the stream. Very potent combination. Sabin coming in makes Cyan unbreakable, so rather than losing me for nothing, he chooses instead to just take the point of damage there, and we hit a Minwu.
they felt like that was necessary. But you can't be like any of the
So Brian G is definitely more built up at this point. Places Tonberries. We saw a whole lot of that from Nia. Does 2,000 reduction on Sabin, but ends up passing his turn, so it's not gonna be eventful. We got a Goblin out there. I was talking about how much haste is available in any deck with fire. Attacks with Sabin. I think he's just pointed to Cyan, making Cyan unbreakable. So it comes in as 8K. Now, I think he realized that he doesn't need to dull him because of Cyan. So he's attacking, indicating the attack.
About a mile and a half from here. It does have games, but it doesn't have the play space.
Looks like, okay, so Brian's going to use Realm's ability, dulling her to turn any monster into a forward that is 7,000 power. Chooses to block with Cleone. this is a good play here in terms of that. You can block with the Cleone, and then when it goes to the break zone from having been broken due to damage, you're going to get that card draw that you normally get from Cleone anyway. Okay, but he's actually going another route with it, which is that he's going to go ahead and lower the power by 4,000 with Tonberries, it looks like, putting Sabin at 4,000. He's going to draw the card. Okay, so that worked out exactly the way they needed it to. So, just to recap there, what happened was Sabin was reduced from 8,000 to 4,000 power. He activated the Goblin to get a card draw, which gave him 2 cards in hand. He already had 1 fire card in hand. Drew a second one, so he's lucky that he drew a fire, not an ice card. Was able to use Sabin's ability to buff himself twice. So I had to give up 2 cards to do so, but was able to make sure to take out the Cleone, which still gave Brian a card draw. So not too bad of a trade. He made his opponent have to use the to use a card in play and dealing cards in hand. Here we get a Swamp Monk. However, we are at 5 points of damage on Brian G, so he's got a much better situation on the field, but he's got to start capitalizing on it before he hits that 7 damage, and Sabin's still going to be coming in every turn.
So ignore the little traps.
Alright, so he plays a Zac. This is the new Zac from Opus 4. Allows you to search your break zone for a Job Soldier or a Cloud, card named Cloud. Gets that Genesis back from the beginning of the game. He's going to attack with Sabin, so here we go again. We know he's got 1 card in hand. Oh, we actually know what it is. It's that Genesis. So there is the opportunity here, if he has a way to convert this with the Tonberries. He can do the same thing he did before, essentially. He could turn, say, the Green Dragon into a forward without having to pay CP. He chooses to do it with the Tonberries, it looks like. Blocks the Tonberries, and then... I'm really surprised that he chose that line there, because he knew that Sabin could not be... Oh, I think Sabin chose himself. He chose to have Sabin himself be unbreakable, so you weren't going to be able to take him out with that.
No, I'm just making sure you do.
That explains the choice there.
Let me escalate this. Okay.
Okay, we get a lock because there are
In general, what
2 6 characters. He pointed at Lena and Realm, but I got to point out that Lena is not a Final Fantasy 6 character. However, Gestalian Empire Cid is, so that still counts. We get Gao retrieving the Tonberries again. So you see how many ways there are to get these Tonberries back. Alright. Attacks with Lena, who is 7k. Pretty much. There we go. Okay, so hits Shiva for damage. Trying to see if we can get him to block and then use the Tonberries on him, but it's not happening.
Now we want to get rid of the cards.
So we can see that, as the game has progressed, I mean, Brian's up to 11 characters in play compared to 5 for Brian P. So if that Sabin keeps coming through or not.
Okay. So
Starting with you, take one of the cards in your hand. It's going to go on your guy, or out of your threat area.
Looks like he's made himself unbreakable again, so we'll see if we'll see what Brian decides to do about blocking on this.
Then we fail.
and I'm gonna play not in the X.
Not in the X.
Play about 3 out of 5. We suck.
Okay, he's going to make the Green Dragon a forward. blocks with it, lets it die. Brian reminding him that he's got to lower Gao's power at this point. Gao is now 8k.
Three identical threats are present,
So basically, the game that Brian G can keep playing here is that if he can keep getting out lots of bodies to throw in front of Sabin, I mean, Sabin only gets to attack once per turn. So, although he's a Wrecking Ball... Oh, okay. Ooh. That changes things a bit. So, yeah, Renoa is definitely going to make that more challenging on Brian G's side, both offensively and defensively. Now, he does still get the benefit of... Alright, so he's going to make Lock unblockable.
So this is 2 symbols and that is 2 symbols.
With Mirage Dive. We get the Belias play, which is going to choose one of his own forwards, and I think he chose Sabin, and then get the card draw from that.
You don't have to play everything in your hand.
So I don't want to play now. So I could.
Gonna play a Cleone, bringing Gao back up to 9k. And chooses to pass. Now he does have the option, you know, when Renoa comes attacking, if she does, he has the option with the Swamp Monk to block it, or on the offensive side, he can choose to attack with the Swamp Monk and dull Renoa down. But that's an interaction I haven't seen yet. So Vayne comes in, immediately dulling Lena and Gao. Brian does have an Astrologian. He has ways to get them back activated again to use defensively. But for now, that's pretty relevant this turn. He attacks with the Sabin.
This one. And I secretly put it here.
And then we're going to get 6 points of damage here on Brian G.
What does that do? Is what I'm confused with. Oh, one of the doubles? Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I was like, that seems weird.
So yeah, I was thinking earlier that Opus 4 opened up a lot of popular cards that are 5 or more CP. You have Gao, obviously, in there, and Caius has shown to be something that some players are playing around with. Edgar, if you're using it to retrieve Sabin in a 6-base deck, also costs 5, so there's vulnerability to Vayne there.
Has the most support.
Yes.
Right?
No one's worthy of it.
So you can either get rid of 2 Nox cards affecting your
Brian's checking out
or recover your good luck.
Realm's abilities there, and looks like he passes. Oh, maybe not. At this point, Brian P's just got to get that 1 more point of damage through. Brian's looking through his break zone, trying to see what options he has with things. So he's going to return Gao to his hand. This is a way to deal with... this is before his turn starts, by the way. Oh, he disactivated Lena, but he shouldn't be able to. Lena should still be dull. Because, yeah, she shouldn't have been able to activate unless he used Astrologian, but Astrologian was dull by my account. Okay, and we got the judge reminding him that that Lena is still going to be dull. So yeah, Gao's returned to his hand. He can play it, and the new Gao entering the field will not be dulled by Vayne's effect. He only dulls things when he comes into play. He just prevents the activation constantly while he's in play. Looks like we're gonna do a Tonberries on Sabin, I believe. Looks like he's indicating. Nope, he's chosen Vayne instead.
So
looks like he's doing 4K for that. He's going to play Gao, get back the Tonberries. That'll be another minus 2,000 there.
So yeah, so they just are part of your.
Okay, he's keeping track of, I think, how much she's done there as far as reduction.
The war is still not over, so the group's morale drops. Total number of cards.
I expected top deck EDO right there. So.
Okay, so he's up to 6 now because he used the Tonberry ability. He paid the extra 1 to do minus 4,000. He's now put the Tonberries in play. Does another 2,000. Looks like he's activated the Swamp Monk. I mean, he can attack with the Swamp Monk and dull Renoa, but then Sabin's still an issue. Yep, he's going to go ahead and choose Renoa there.
So then I become a mission leader.
I think what he's doing here is he's kind of hedging his bets. This is actually a pretty smart move by Brian G. He's still got the potential. I don't know if he has any cards in his hand. Maybe not. Actually, this might not be as good of a plan as I thought. If he has no cards in his hand, it changes things up. But if he was able to use the 4K ability on the Tonberries he just played, then he can use it to either break whatever blocks the Swamp Monk by lowering it enough, or he can choose to finish off Vayne, doing another 2K to Vayne. Looks like he's going to block with the Vayne anyway. Which I'm not sure why that would have killed the Swamp Monk, because my understanding of it... Yeah, okay, yeah. He realized the same thing. So, Vayne only did 2K damage to the Swamp Monk, which means Swamp Monk's okay. I know that Swamp Monks are not very particularly strong, so it's not very often that they win a combat, but there it is.
Okay, so if we fail the mission, then these cards.
Alright, he's going to choose to attack with Lock. Still kind of baiting out the whether or not he's going to do the Tonberries, but he takes the damage. So we're up to 4 points of damage.
Correct.
So he's chipping away there, but you know, it's only one shift of play away from Brian P taking game 1 here. If he can get through with that Renoa. Now he can do the trick we saw earlier, which is that he could use Renoa to activate or to turn Cleone into a forward. But if he does that, the issue is that it's still going to kill Renoa. Which would still dull everything down. Let's see if the I'm not sure if the Tonberries are if they have to choose your opponent's forward or not. If he could choose his own, he could technically. I mean, he could also block with Realm, and Realm would just would die there. So.
I don't know if that's when you need anything, okay?
Let's find Tonberries here. There's Tonberries. Okay, so they can be used against any forward, even your own. And as we saw, Realm, just Realm blocked there. I'm surprised to an extent that we haven't seen Brian use the Astral Legend to activate. Oh right, to Vayne's off the field. So I think Lena's going to activate anyway. We're good.
Yeah, that was like when he played it. I'm like, I looked at him, I'm like, well, I guess we're going. You know, it's like
Start scrapping. He's like, wow. And then you started taking your backups for damage too. I was like, yep, that's the way.
I love that. It's always great. It's always drop. I'm like, oh, I like those.
If you've already withdrawn, do not let it like all.
Yep, that dies.
Now Realm having taken that, been taken down by Renoa, does take away the opportunity to turn another monster into a forward, at least beyond this current turn here. I think he's turned Cleone into a forward.
We shall overcome this. They shall not be gassing us anymore. It should be fine.
Looks like he's going to attack with Sabin.
So you're getting rid of gas masks.
I love that Sabin Cyan combination. Just a brave Sabin is brutal on the opponent. Okay, looks like he's indicating that he's making Cyan unbreakable. He's got 2 cards in hand. He could potentially buff Sabin up to 6,000, so that'd be 14,000 at this point. Looks like he's going to block with Gao. Nope, he's going to block with the Cleone that was turned into a forward. Draws a card for that. Cyan might be... Nope, Cyan's not attacking. That would be foolhardy. We're down to... Gao should be... Yep, there we go. He's correcting it. Gao is now 8k. Alright, looks like he passes it over. Looks like he's playing Jill and freezing both Locke and Lena. Again, this is a really tight game. Brian G does not have much room. He's still got the Tonberries to help swing things in his favor. But he's got to deal with Renoa every turn that he comes in a way that involves losing something, because otherwise he's going to run into getting doubled.
I'll show you mine. Yeah, I'll show you mine. That was like, or if you have a searcher, then you show. How about that? We're not. That's like.
Can you text me the picture? Okay. We've all withdrawn. Now let's see.
So, with this game, okay, he's going to be aggressive. Brian attacks with 8k Gao. Brian takes it, hits Celeste. No EX burst there. See what he's got in terms of defensive options.
These get discarded, but we add 3. We lose 3 morale.
Yes. Oh wait, no. Yes, we're gonna have 3.
It's like Brian searching his break zone, seeing what's in there. And see, Brian's got a whole bunch of cards in his hand, and he hasn't used his backups yet. So I mean, he's got the opportunity to play some defenders, but he probably is going to plan on using the Swamp Monk to block Renoa. Would be my guess. This kind of shows part of the issue with playing Renoa. She's a great card, and there's a reason why she's basically still the most expensive card out of Opus 2. But if you don't have a way to break her on your own, then you're forced to kind of just, keep trying to find a way for your opponent to have to break her when they don't want to. It's kind of like the Sabin situation. It can, Renoa can only attack once per turn, so if you have a way to deal with her, then you're in good shape. Okay, looks like we are dulling Cyan. Taking Sabin as a point of damage. We have now both players at 6 damage. So Brian G has fought his way back into a tie here on damage. Next point of damage is going to take game 1. And much like the game with the quarterfinal round with Nia, we've hit almost 30 minutes now for just game 1. So we'll see how time becomes a factor as we get later into this best of 3 match.
We all know it's only 15 now, sir.
Guess what I'm going to do with my next turn?
A lot of serious thinking going on here.
I don't know how to whistle.
right, let's see, does he... I mean, he has the Astrologian, so he has a way to get back a blocker, particularly Gao. He could use Astrologian on Gao to block something, but... Alright, so he attacked with the Swamp Monk. That's what dulled Cyan, it looks like. Let's see if he's got a play that's going to work to deal with both Sabin and Renoa on this turn. This is the kind of do-or-die turn, at least to this point in the match. And we got a Goblin, comes in attacking with Renoa. Let's see how Brian's going to handle this.
So, on my turn, I must withdraw 2 identical threats.
Okay, so he activates Gao, blocks with Gao.
So, we fail at
All right, Brian saw the writing on the wall. Unfortunately, he got Brian P up to 6 points of damage. Could not get through for that 7th one before things finally fell apart there. So that perseverance from the beginning of the match, those early points of damage really made a difference.
I almost don't believe you. Why would we undertake to fail?
Alright, shuffling up for a second round here. Looking at our deck lists. It's funny because, so of course every deck list has a deck name. You have to put a deck name on it. And Brian Derby decided to name his deck Slushy Monster, which kind of makes sense between the ice and water and stuff, and slushies and flans and all that. So that's kind of nice and cutesy. Brian Faswana, on the other hand, named his deck the Sephiroth FF7 deck, which is, of course, amusing because it's an FF6 deck that features no Sephiroths. So he's having fun with deck names there. We mentioned before when we saw that mono water deck by Curvin that there were some decks that are just kind of lightly adjusting themselves for. Okay, once again we have early Genesis from Brian. You can see that's kind of something he wants to do, combined with hasting it. Wow, we're playing at warp speed now, so we've got 2 backups at this point for Brian G, and a backup and Genesis for Brian P. We got Gao and a Swamp Monk now. But as I was going to say, some decks are just doing slight adjustments for Opus 4 and kind of adding in things to adjust what they were already doing. But decks that heavily feature Final Fantasy VI, such as Brian P's, are mostly all new cards. Okay, so we have a Frozen Genesis there, it looks like, via Celeste coming into play. So, I mean, if you look at Brian Faswana's, Brian P's deck list, it is mostly, it seems, Opus 4 cards. There's a whole lot of them in there.
So if it's a tie, then players, in the case of tie, the cancel each other out and no.
Actually, after a quick summary look, it's exactly 25 cards from Opus 4, so that's a lot of new things, and there can be a benefit there where your opponents are not as prepared for how to handle and counteract that many new cards. So you just mix a combination of old standards that are just strong even if your opponent knows what's going on, like Genesis and Renoa, but with new cards people have not as many opportunities to play around yet, and it's a good recipe for success there. Alright, we have, at this point, 1 point of damage on Brian P as well. He plays backup. Looks like Red Mage there.
Oh yeah, Mom. Nightmares.
He plays Castellan Empire Sid to search for Cyan, which Cyan is, if you haven't played a Final Fantasy VI deck yet or played against one, Cyan is really kind of the linchpin of those decks because that Brave is not to be trifled with. Brave on all the Final Fantasy VI cards, whether it's Locke, Setzer, Celeste, any of them. It's a it really makes a big difference on your ability to do damage and still be able to block. Okay, second point of damage to Brian P is going to be a Zach. Third point is going to be Jill, freezing both those attackers. Okay, Brian G plays Swamp Monk, or activates Swamp Monk rather. Gets fourth point of damage in. So Brian G playing much more aggressively this time. It could be what he had available to him, but he got more cards out sooner. And is able to kind of hold back this single Genesis we've been dealing with at this point. There's that Cyan that we saw get retrieved earlier.
What?
So how much?
On active card?
Yeah,
20.
I'm
I'd have to check something.
Right. Back to... Okay, so Cyan has been removed via Tonberry shenanigans. We've seen that for quite a bit today. All right. Let's see. Yeah, looks like Brian's got no cards in his hand. Very emphatically pointing out he's got no cards in his hand, it looks like.
I don't think there's a card in this one.
I apologize for missing a whole bunch of our chat stuff earlier with our technical issues. I did not have that refresh. So thanks to everybody's been active in the chat there. Good to see you there, Rontosaurus Rex, and Mr. Meta Potion, Stomp the Horizon, all those guys, all you in there. So thank you all for watching and for being part of the chat here. We're now up to 5 points of damage on Brian P. All right, let's see if Brian G can keep up the aggression here. Yeah, at this point, he's got 3 forwards out to Brian P having no forwards, so I mean he's in a great position to be able to wrap this up here, especially with the Swamp Monk being able to dull whatever forward Brian puts out, which will be Genesis. He's going to dull and freeze lock there. Gau's still dull.
Wait, but if I put out a rain card, that's 2.
Yes. This is the max I can have.
Okay, it's like got a Goblin there and a Sephiroth. So, oh, I did say there was a FF7 Sephiroth deck. And my mistake, I didn't see any of them in there before. So he still calls his deck an FF7 Sephiroth deck, but I mean, I guess Genesis is from 7, so I guess it's a little bit more relevant than I might have thought. Zach's in there, but 6 is definitely I think the unifying engine more than 7.
Yeah, but if.
think force withdraw versus voluntary.
Okay, he's going to attack with a Swamp Monk, dulling the first strike Sephiroth there.
Oh, here it is.
He can block with Genesis, and I think he's probably going to go ahead and, yep, he's going to use the Tonberries. Well, he's considering it. Looks like he's going to use the Tonberries, though. Doing some calculations. Always important to make sure you do your calculations right. Nia ran into that trouble a little bit.
We also have two.
All right, looks like Brian G takes that one down. We are now at 1 game apiece for each one of them. We're going into game 3 with 30 minutes left, so we're in a better position than we were for last round, where we went into game 3 with 15 minutes left.
Buy a booster box. We do have a promotion running all weekend for the whole store. Every $100 you spend, you get a $25 gift card back. Okay. So you buy a booster box, you get a $25 gift card.
Okay, so it's practically 75. Did you have to use it like on the next visit, or can you use it like to add buy more
You
stuff?
don't even have to use it. Give it to somebody else. It's just a gift card. It's like cash.
How much are booster boxes?
For the promotion, it'd be full price, so $144.
$144.
Normally they're 10% off, so $25 off is better.
Okay.
All right, shuffling up here. Those are 2 very different games. First round.
So this doesn't count anymore.
First round was a much more drawn out game with Brian G building up as Brian P was more aggressive, and then the second time through we saw Brian G get set up much sooner, and be able to come in with just lots of avenues of attack and such.
Why am I playing your stuff?
And he points to me, and I point to me, so I can get rid of these 2 for the ship.
And I've still got some pretty shitty things. So get rid of these.
All right, getting ready for our 3rd and final match between these 2. One of these 2 will be going to the top 2 match after this. So we're guaranteed to have at least 1 Brian in the finals, and it's possible we're going to have 2 Brians in the finals again. We'll see what's going on with our other semifinal match right now between Brian Ing and Azul Basaris.
Well, I wasn't sure what aggro was going to be, so I'm like, I just need...
So our top 4 here at this event are Brian Faswana, Brian Jerby, Brian Ing, and Azul Basaris, for anybody who was wondering about that.
I'm not going to play this.
All right, get a first turn Castalian Empire Sid.
It's just weaker than yeah, you can't like pick something and like the monsters and all the crazy.
What if you?
All right, both. All right, we get Cyan here, which again, like I said, Cyan very important. He makes him, he's brave himself, which is already good. I am particularly fond of brave cards. My deck at Nationals was pretty much based around Earth cards that were brave. So big fan of that. So the fact that Cyan has it and then also gives it to the other Final Fantasy VI cards is very, very good. All right, we're getting Gao, Flan, and Tonberries. And Brian G has built his pyramid of characters again. It's been interesting to see how players decide to place their monsters over the course of this new set, in terms of seeing, do they put them in between the backups and the forwards the way that Brian G is? Do you put them over to the side? In what place do you look, to put those cards to make them differentiated? We are getting lock from Brian P. If I were to guess, I'd say he's probably having trouble with drawing backups right now, because he overpaid for that Castalian Empire Sid on turn 1, and we have not yet seen another backup from him. And either he's worried about making sure that he has the means with which to block,
she's always looking for fun strategy games.
Or he's not drawing backups.
A lot of reading.
Oh, can you
There's no reading.
where you put the copy you were playing with?
Oh, it's solid.
Alright, so we get first point of damage here to Brian G.
He knows all his numbers, so.
Right, we're getting an Opus 3 Shiva being played on both Celeste and Gao here. That Astrologian is dull already, so I'm not going to be able to activate there. But Brian G is using the Flan to force a discard from Brian P. Attacks with both Cyan and Locke, who are both... okay, so he takes the first point of damage and then hits the Realm X Burst, looks for a monster in the first 5. There aren't any, so... or sorry, that was on the second point of damage there. So we have 3 points of damage now on Brian G. So despite the lack of backups, this is playing out similar to game 1 right now, where Brian G is taking the damage early, even though he has an advantage in what he's built up. Plays Strago. Goes ahead and returns Cyan. Attacks with Celeste, who is stronger than Locke, at least on the surface, but it looks like he's going to discard something for... Okay, he's going to Bahamut Celeste, so he's going to go ahead and discard the 2 to Bahamut us. Attacks with Gao, who's 7k. Hits a Belias, targets Locke, obviously, and then draws a card there, so that helps him with... helps him to restore some of the cards he lost. You know, he played the Bahamut and then had to discard 2 cards to do it, so that was 3 cards total. Locke's gone here, as are the Tonberries, so we've had that removed there. We hit a point of damage with Genesis there, so Brian G is crawling back into this. Not as much of a deficit now. Alright, once again we have Locke and Cyan. Cyan is attacking. Looks like he's going to take that. Locke just came in this turn, so can't attack. So he's back to a 2 damage deficit. He's going to attack with Gao, who is now 8k. He takes that, which is going to be another lock, so that should be all 3 locks, I believe, at this point. That is of Brian's locks, not to be confused with other Brian's locks. Alright, so this is tied 1-1 right now. This is the game that's going to decide which one of these 2 competitors goes to the top 2 of our championship event. Alright, let's see how this progresses from this point. Alright, so we have that Swamp Monk out there, and a green dragon. A couple of different options for both attacking and blocking. We're going to have Genesis. It's going to dull and freeze Strago. But then we get to the next turn there. I think we're going back and forth pretty quickly here. So we've now got Brian G at 6 points of damage before you know it, and Brian P still only at 3. This is a tough situation right now. Brian G is gonna have to see if he can come back from this.
Yeah. But the second one comes dull.
But at least now he does have a right.
Yes. Well, I was choosing at random, so nothing happens, but you do get an extra speech.
Okay, looks like he's going to block the green dragon. They're both 7k. That's presumably a trade there.
Oh.
Yep. That's going to be a trade.
So we should use them.
Alright, so now we've got a Celeste, which is going to freeze the Astrologian. Alright, let's see what Brian G can put together here. He's in trouble at this point. We're back to the point where he's at the brink, and in game 1 we saw him come all the way back to getting 6 damage in before losing. But alright, so he's attacking with Strago. No Tonberries at this point, so you know, off the top, it looks like Celeste can block him no problem. Or Cyan, for that matter. So he's going to block the Cyan. It's going to be... All right, now maybe he's going to play a Tonberries here to finish off Cyan. That would actually be a good play. He's going to attack with the Swamp Monk, dulling Celeste. He's going to block the Cyan again, so they're just going to trade there.
Our friendship is our strength.
So Gao should be down to 7K now, and Brian G just realized that. So it's important with cards like that. We saw Quinn earlier today. Make sure that you're constantly rechecking what their power is, and especially if you're using dice to keep track of it, as players like to do. That you want to make sure that you're keeping up with that, so you're not surprised by anything. Yeah, Rontosaurus Rex, you are correct. That one backup is doing a whole lot of work right now. Sid is like carrying this game for Brian P.
Any of your fours that go into the break zone, I think. No, one of four goes in the break zone. One of your four. I got the foil one.
All right, we might be hitting the point where we'll see what happens. We've got 2 attackers, 2 potential defenders, but Celeste is bigger than either one of those defenders. That's the challenge right there, and he can't afford to let both of them through. So he attacks with Celeste. Gao is going to block that. It looks like Brian G's in trouble here. He needs some real... He's only got 2 backups, so that's the thing, is that he hasn't built up like he did in game 1.
So I have to withdraw. I was going to withdraw anyway. So I draw randomly, and we support it. Oh, come on.
All right, let's see what he's got going here.
Well,
if I'd drawn the other tile, we would have had you. Nobody
I
gets a
can
thing.
get rid of this. If the mission was a failure,
But nobody is
only
the
the
support.
tiles from players.
So he's thinking out what he wants to do here. He's placed his cards down. He's, you know, when we get to this point, you have to think of how you're going to survive the next turn. Ideally, you're thinking about how to kind of retake control of the match, but he doesn't really have that luxury at the moment. He's looking at, Brian G's looking at you know, just how to make sure he can get through Genesis and Celeste attacking next turn. Because Brian's boards are not particularly big. It's all about, you know, decks like this, it's all about the combat tricks for the most part, or getting around forwards that are large. So the Tonberries are huge in doing that. All right, we get Locke on the field. He's going to place Strago on the field. He's going to return Celeste to Brian's hand. That at least takes care of one attacker next turn, particularly the one that he couldn't trade with.
Yeah. Into Tifa, and you're just like 2? 3 things in 3. Like, oh, I'll do that. I'll play a Sage too.
Let's get 3 and we can't.
It's an interesting situation because Brian G has so many cards on the field, and you know he's playing a lot and getting through a lot. But Brian P, despite only having 1 forward, 1 backup right now, is a much stronger position.
So I would be
being 1 point away of 1 point of damage away from going to the final round.
What's morale dropping?
That's adding cards.
Oh God! Altogether, we'll be able to.
All right, let's see if I think Brian P is trying to figure out what to do. He's got so many cards in his hand. So he's got about 5 or so, but he's got to get through Strago, Locke, and I believe Brian G has no cards in his hand, so he can't activate that green dragon right now. But he's going to go ahead and just attack with the Genesis, see what happens. I mean, Brian P has that luxury right now that he can afford to take a couple points of damage without it really adversely affecting his position overall. So he can use damage as a resource to buy himself some time. But let's see what he does with it. Okay, plays Celeste again. Follows up with Cyan. That's going to be a good play. That's going to allow Celeste to attack on subsequent turns without having to dull and still be able to block. That's pretty huge right now. All right, let's see what Brian G can do. Can he make it through another turn? He's going to have 2 attackers coming at him. Tonberries would be huge here. He passes. So he doesn't have the right...
Okay.
I'm not sure what he used that Astrologian for. I'm not sure why the Astrologian is still dull. I didn't see him pay for anything or play anything, so... Okay, he blocks Celeste with Strago.
Okay. Your mission.
Yeah, thank you. Brontosaurus Rex? Yeah, Celeste froze it. I missed that.
We're so gonna lose this game.
All right, we're back to 1 forward, 1 backup versus I got 3 backups. Looks like he's probably gonna. I would imagine at this point, Brian G's got to go for Mira. He's got to just have a blocker. He's got to have something. Yep, there she is. Got to have something to just hold back Celeste for a turn. Plays that Mira. Plays the Swamp Monk.
Well.
So it becomes a game of can Brian G rebuild? Oh, that's the end. Yep, plays that Opus 3. Celeste does not have the resources with which to activate the Swamp Monk. So Brian Faswana is going to be heading to our final table here.
We can get out of the rain.
Merry Christmas. Discard a card from yourself.
Alrighty. So that was a pretty intense match. You know, same as the quarterfinals. Quarterfinals were very intense as far as how much thinking was involved, how you know, how deeply back and forth the games were. Went to game 3. You know, we weren't that far from going to time. We've got about 12 minutes left on the clock.
I'm not allowed to withdraw.
So, you know, what's good is that we're getting some best of 3 matches that are actually going to 3 games right now.
I can't play a card.
And again, 2 really good players. Brian Derby is an excellent player here, local to Isle of Gamers, and he's very analytical. He comes up with really interesting deck ideas and interactions, and just a really fun, pleasant guy. So it's unfortunate to see him not make it to the finals. He deserves to be there, but Brian Faswana is pretty fantastic at what he does as well. So you know, the nature of this being a championship event is that we're going to have plenty of really good players that don't make it that far. It's there's too many good ones to have everybody be in the top 2. So it's about who can come out on top based off of you know, how their deck is doing. Again, we're seeing how important the Final Fantasy VI package can be. We didn't even see any Sabin on that last round from Brian P. So yeah, I think Final Fantasy VI will be interesting to see if that continues to show up as being an important kind of subgroup in the meta. Same way that Final Fantasy IX really reinvigorated water, and how many water decks are just, you know, if you're running water especially as a mono water, but even as a combined you know, 2 elements, a lot of times it's very efficient, very good to use that Final Fantasy IX package. So Final Fantasy VI is having its effect on both fire and ice. Fire in particular was not a very popular or successful element, I think, in Opus 3, and ice, at least locally, kind of fell by the wayside a bit. So 2 elements that you know, could use the help. So yeah, we'll see if the mainstays that we're used to, if the strength of earth and lightning and water will be able to kind of counteract the resurgence of fire and ice in this, and how wind plays into all of that. I mentioned earlier today that, you know, mono wind, we're starting to see people play around with mono wind as a choice, and we'll see if that continues to develop, especially over the course of the Opus 4 meta cycle. Anyway, we're probably going to have a little bit of time here before our top match. I believe the other semifinal round is in Game 3 right now, so there's currently less than 10 minutes left on the clock here, as far as my understanding. So so we'll be coming at you after that with our final round here. I know it's getting pretty late for you, anybody who's not on Pacific time zone. It's currently 10:40 Pacific, so anybody who's in Central or Eastern or anywhere around the world, you might be in some very, very interesting times right now. So wherever you're at, we thank you so much for watching us here at the Break Zone, for watching our coverage of this, and we are excited to bring you the final round of this event today, coming up shortly after the conclusion of the other semifinal match, and we will we'll see you in a little bit. So this is the Break Zone. My name's Jared Scott. So happy to be here with you guys, bring you this event and have you along watching it with us, and we will be back in just a little bit with the final round for you, so stay tuned.
See you guys soon.
All right, we are back. This is our final round here. It's been a quite quite a day here at Isle of Gamers in Santa Clara. And we've got a Brian on Brian final match. So we had Brian on Brian semifinals. We have Brian on Brian final match here. Brian Faswana versus Brian Ing. We saw Brian Ing's deck earlier, I believe, against Nia.
Yeah, Brian's top really often. Actually, almost.
So we have a black mage being played turn 1.
They get rid of Exodus. Did you guys right back in?
So one of the first times we were talking about this was during, I think, like the first or maybe second turn.
All right. And we've got, in case you didn't notice, got some fancy new mats there. So this was part of the prizing given out to the top 8 players today. Was these really fancy Meta Potion Circuit play mats. So all the top 8 got these play mats here. Great design that was commissioned by Meta Potion. You can see got Meta Potion and the break zone on there, and all the different jobs that were assigned to players depending on their standings at the end of the regular season here before the championship as far as points. All right, we have a Delita there and a Lock on the other side. But yeah, these are some really nice looking mats. The Break Zone's very own JT makes these mats, so you can, if you're interested in acquiring mats of this sort of quality, then reach out to the Break Zone directly, or you can actually just reach out to the Break Zone directly, and we'll make sure to get that over to JT so that he can help you out with whatever needs or interests you might have there in terms of play mats. He does really great high quality work. Looks like he's gonna play Genesis to dull and freeze Delita, which of course will instantly break Genesis, so that's why he goes right to the break zone there. But yeah, these mats are looking really nice. We had to just show them off for this final match here.
It's good that you made it up, though. I mean, it's pretty cool. I wish I could play.
Okay. Brian Ing's going to play the Shadow Lord there. Doesn't break anything, but gives him an 8k body that is brave. Vayne is going to keep Delita dull, so that's a good 1-2 punch there by Brian Faswana. So playing the Genesis first to dull and freeze Delita, and getting out Vayne the next turn to keep him dull there. At least as long as Vayne is down. We'll see. All it takes is a Hecaton Care to take out Vayne there.
It's like a 90-10 matchup. Like
we got 2 points of damage on Brian Ing, it looks like.
Alright, I'm headed out.
Alright, yeah, I gotta go too. Yeah, and I'm assuming you guys, unless you want to play.
This is game 1 of our final matchup here. And then, okay, Brian Faswana is going to play the Zach there, building up his backup. So we got, unlike a lot of the other matches today, we got some early, kind of early aggression as opposed to just playing forwards. Or sorry, it's just playing backups. So we're getting a lot more forwards early. All right, Shadow Lord attack's going to be the first point of damage here on Brian P. We saw that there was a Roban there that Delita took out Vayne. So I mentioned Hecaton Care, but we've got a Roban there. Playing a second Genesis, the one that was retrieved by Zach after it broke the first time. Dulling and freezing Shadow Lord. This is we've got a fast-paced match going on here. So compared to the last 2 rounds, we might be going at warp speed here. It's pretty late here locally, 11 p.m. Pacific time. We've been here setting up since about noon, so it's a long day for the employees, the players, all of us here. But you know, we're so glad to be taking part of this event. Okay, he's going to play in a Tomos, taking out Genesis there. Yeah, we're so glad to be able to bring you this event, and we hope that you enjoy being able to watch it just as much. All of our streams and our circuit events have been leading up to this. There was 8 circuit events in total, once per week, spread over several weeks, and all leads to this. Oh, thanks for the info there, Dan Wynn. So that's I just lost the information. I think it was Michael Velasco was the designer of the art being used on these mats. It's the players down south at the Southern California Meta Potion Circuit Championship also received the same mats. Okay, 3 points of damage here on each one of them. You might think that these players, after 6 rounds of Swiss and then 2 rounds of best of 3, might be a little bit tired, but nope, they are perhaps energized by this final round here. Yep, so it says Michael Velasco was the designer of both these playmats you're seeing here, and also the pins. I'll make sure to show you before we finish here. Ah, someone's pointing out that I did not get a chance to correct the types here. Been a long day for me as well, so let me fix that Brian Anzek is Mono Earth. We still have the information from the last match, it looks like up there. Or perhaps, yeah, I think it was from the last match. So let's fix that. Thanks for keeping me honest out there. Alright, up to 4 points of damage now on Brian Ing, still 3 on Brian Faswana. Okay, looks like Delete is gonna attack here. Still with the same 2 backups, a lot of the same cards in play. Alright, we get a 4th point of damage on Brian Faswana. And then he's attacking with Delita. It's going to be a 5th point of damage. That's a Sabin. That would have been really useful for Brian Faswana there, I think. So it's unfortunate to see that Sabin go to the damage zone. We are less than 10 minutes and we've already got 9 points of damage on the board. So this might be a full speed ahead situation here. We got Sephiroth causing Brian Ing to have to discard 2 cards. So now both players have empty hands. Get a Gipple, which is going to make the already large Shadow Lord and Delita even larger. 12k on Shadow Lord, 12k on Shadow Lord, 13k on Delita. He's got to block with something, so Sephiroth takes that. We are now up to 6 points of damage on Brian Faswana. And looks like that's going to be it for game 1. So that was fast and furious. So game 1 goes to Brian Ing after less than 10 minutes. That was a good. I have to repeat. That was a very good comment by our tournament organizer here, David Corey. He said he's never seen Earth move that fast, and that's pretty true. Earth is not known for. Earth is not known for being that fast of a deck, I guess. Alright, shuffling up for game 2. The polar opposite of what we saw before with the first 2. In the quarterfinals, our first game took 30 minutes. In the semifinals, our first game took 30 minutes. In semifinals, both sets of games went to time, or actually not went to time. They either went at least an hour, and in the case of the one that was not on the stream, went to time. All right, going into game 2 here. We'll see what happens. Brian Ing took game 1 down, so now now we're going into game 2. Let's see if Brian Faswana can come back from that. Fire Ice, you would expect to be the more aggressive kind of early attacking game. We saw that during some of Brian's other games that he was a big fan of playing Genesis early and getting you know, those attacks in, perhaps hasting Genesis to also get the card discard on the opponent. So let's see if he's able to kind of play the game that he wants to here. Glad to see you figure that out, Nicholas. Thanks for watching us on the stream here. Sorry to see that you had some connection issues, but we're glad to have you watching, especially at this late hour. This is our final match of the Northern California Metapotion Circuit Championship here. These are the best players from over the course of the circuit series. There was 3 different ways to qualify. Speaking of aggressive, so we get turn 1. Turn 1, Sage and Sabin going in for a point of damage. That poor Gipple is not helpful right now. So there was 3 ways to qualify. Anybody who came in first or second at one of the 8 circuit events qualified, as well as anybody that earned at least 40 points from events, which included circuit events or regular weekly events that were held at these stores that were involved with the circuit. If you had 40 points, you also qualified, and then also the top 60% of the players that participated in the events qualified. So Brian Ng ends up playing Vincent and Yuffie, attacks with Sabin, makes himself unbreakable. He ends up taking that. Oh. So that's 2 points of damage onto Brian Ng now. He's going to attack with... oh, he just realized he didn't have to dull Vincent to attack. Attacks with both Yuffie and Vincent. Hits Jill. Unfortunately, that Jill is not the Jill we're looking for. It's the Opus 2 Jill, so it's not going to freeze anything. Although it wouldn't have been as helpful with Vincent, I suppose. So after a day of seeing lots of people trying to build up backups here, we've got 2 players that are just very, very aggressive. And you know, in all fairness, these are the decks that got them here. After 6 rounds of Swiss and 2 rounds of best of 3, these players deserve to be here. Their decks performed well enough to get them here. Let's see, we've got Sabin, I think, broken by Raban there. And so these are some great competitors, and we've had just fantastic plays all day. We ended up with, by the end of the circuit series, there was 41 players. Okay, there's another 7. 41 players that were technically qualified to play in this event here, and we ended up with 33 of them here out of that. So that's a great showing for our first season in Northern California of Metapotion, and I heard that there was, I think, 28 players in Southern California. So we're so glad to so glad to see these circuit events and the championships have such good turnout, and everybody you know, coming together, getting to play some awesome games. Okay, that Atomos is going to break Sabin. We're going to get 2 more points of damage. Hey, it's the Jill we're looking for. Unfortunately, it's still not helpful against Vincent. This might be over very quickly here. Brian Ng took game 1, and he's now got 4 points of damage in on Brian Faswana, and Brian Faswana is having a little trouble coming up with things, but there's a lot of laughter coming from that table. Sounds like these 2 are having a great time over there. So you know, that's really the best situation we could look for, is having great players come together, play some really good games, and have a great time doing it. You know, it's these players, they think a lot about things. They're competitive, but they're also, you know, we have a lot of great characters out here. Looks like Brian joking about flipping the table there. Attacks with Vincent. There's 5th point of damage. It's yeah, it's going to be hard to see Brian Faswana coming back from this deficit he's in. right, let's see where this goes from here. Looks like he plays the Zac. Retrieve a Genesis with that. Now we're getting some backup kind of build up, but again, Brian P. Oh, Hecaton Care. I think that's it. I think that's gonna be it. Yep, that's here comes point 6, and that was pretty incredible. That was pretty incredible. So I think that's probably the record for fastest championship event right there. We came in at I think just shy of 15 minutes for that round. So for those of you who watched an hour and 10 minutes of quarterfinals, or an hour and 10 minutes, or about an hour or so of semifinals, we had a 15-minute long grand final round for you. Wow, that was quite an event to watch there. So, but well played to those players. Well played to Brian Ng for coming out as the champion of this match. Those are again two really great competitors there. And again, they're both having a great time over there. There's no hard feelings. They had a blast. So, big congratulations to both Brian Ng and Brian Faswana and all of our players today for being here. All right, we're at the end of Season 1. This is our tournament has concluded after 6 rounds of Swiss and some rounds of best of 3, including a final round that I don't think could be any faster if you tried. You know, we're here at the end, so you know, we at the Break Zone have been covering these events since event number 1, and we definitely appreciate all the people that have watched all of our streams, those who are our subscribers. We're still, I know JT still has plans for the giveaway, for our 100 subscriber giveaway. So if you haven't subscribed to us already, please go on there and make sure to go on there and hit subscribe. You know, wherever that button is down here, hit subscribe if you haven't already. If you are a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching us. You can also find us on Facebook. You can see our posts there where we put up not just information about the upcoming streams, but also about you know, different posts. We put up pictures of like the prizing for today and stuff. So we got that there for you. So, yeah, you can find us on Facebook. I believe it's facebook.com/thebreakzone. And yeah, we should be doing our subscriber giveaway there. I think JT's going to be working on that. So we'll bug him a little bit about that. Those of you who you know, started watching us after the Petite Cup, we're so glad that you joined us again for the event this weekend. We have to give a whole bunch of thanks as we reach the end of the season here. So a big thank you again to Isle of Gamers and to Anna for hosting us. Huge thank you to all the employees here at Isle of Gamers that have taken such good care of us. So thank you to Ian and Daniel and Matt and Maddie and everybody that's been involved with taking care of us, you know, both the Break Zone and the tournaments and the circuit and everything. They have been such gracious hosts. They hosted 3 of the 8 events for us, as well as the championship, and we are so happy to be able to play here and to have a good following of players and support from the store here. Thank you again to Crazy Squirrel Games Store in Fresno, and to Kellen and Galaxy Games in Dublin. Thank you to Just Flip TCG in San Jose. They all hosted events this season. Big thank you to Matthew Okamoto for everything at MetaPotion, and Kyle McGinty as well. You know, MetaPotion for putting on this event. You know, putting together this circuit, you know, taking the idea of the SoCal circuit that they started before Nationals and expanding it to us up here. We are so excited for what we can bring in Season 2 of MetaPotion. We don't have a date for it yet, but, you know, after the holidays, we should have something starting up there. So you know, be expecting more streams from us. We're also at the Break Zone. We're starting to look at we're going to be bringing you additional content, not just streams of tournaments, but additional content as well. It'll be going up on our YouTube channel, and Please share it on Facebook. So be looking out for those sorts of things from us. And if there's anything you want to suggest that you would like to see from us, let us know. Put a comment on the video here, or send us a message. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you and hear what sorts of things you and the community would like to have from us. Giant thanks to JT here at the Break Zone. He has put blood, sweat, tears, and I think parts of his soul into getting this whole thing running for us. This stream is his baby, and we wouldn't be able to bring this to you if it wasn't for the hard work and dedication of him, and being an integral member of the Break Zone. A big thank you to our local tournament organizer, David Corey here. He was basically in charge of helping run every event at every store, and made sure to put a lot into each one of those events, as well as being a great competitor, and being a great competitor did exceedingly well in the events over the course of the season, and yeah, so we have Brian Presswano wants to do a shout out, so let's get a shout out time.
I'd like to thank my tabletop crew for helping me brew this deck, testing it, Ronald Averin for showing me the cyan, and Professor Oak, aka Brian Oak, for playtesting it with me.
All right. So, of course, a big thank you to everybody who competed in not just today, but in the circuit in general. Congratulations to our winner, Brian Ing, and to everybody who played in the top 8, and in general, but especially the top 8. To come out in the top 8 in this field of players is no easy feat. So I want to make sure that I give my chance to thank everybody right now. I think I've mostly got it covered, but thanks to our local play group. Our play group's awesome over here, and I'm glad that we've been able to for some of these events to host people coming from, whether they're coming from Fresno or Sacramento or San Francisco. It's a very welcoming place here. Thanks to Square for making the game. Thanks to Richard Brady for being the kind of our representative here in the U.S. And of course, big thanks to Kageyama for all of the work that he does for the game here, and designing and answering our rules questions and putting his work into it. And yeah, thanks to all of you for watching us, whether you watched one stream or all the streams. We love interacting with you guys out there, and and I guess maybe last but not least, I have to say thank you to all of our wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, significant others for supporting us through all these events, and for letting us go out and have a little bit of fun on the weekend. So for all the hall passes. So I guess my last plug here, if you haven't hit subscribe, like us, send us messages, tell us things that how are you feeling, how are you thinking about things. We love hearing from you guys, positive or negative. We want to do the sort of things that you guys want to watch. My name is Jared Scott. I am so thankful for you guys watching and listening to me babble for about 11 hours or 10 hours, whatever it is. And we have plenty more content that's going to be coming at you following the holidays. We hope that you all have a great holiday season with whoever you're spending it with, family, friends. We hope that you enjoy the next couple of weeks and enjoy your Opus 4 decks and tournaments and all that. And we will be back with you, I'm sure, in the new year, shortly after. So yeah, I think I'm out of things to say at this point. Big thank you to everyone, and we will see you all in the new year. So, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that stuff. And this is Jared Scott signing out.
So anybody who's put it